This is Sparta!
Leonidas was a king of the Greek city-state of Sparta and the 17th of the Aegean line, a dynasty which claimed descent from the mythical demigod Hercules. He learned survival through harsh training from a young age and grew up to be a king stronger than anyone else. Achilles. Achilles, the son of the sea goddess Thetis and Peleus, king of Phthia, is the greatest Greek hero of the Trojan War, the undefeated god of war. He was a braver and stronger warrior than anyone else, but he was also impulsive, violent, and self-centered until the Trojan War. Greece has fought many larger-scale battles since ancient times and produced many heroes. Fierce battles and stories of heroes were attractive to directors to make into films, and the two relatively recent films were huge successes, both at the box office and in the critics' reviews, especially when it comes to dazzling, spectacular action sequences. They're a favorite among macho men. So today, we will compare the performances of these two heroes, Leonidas from 300 and Achilles of Troy, with action scenes to make our hearts flutter once more. Chapter 1. Muscle. Gerard Butler, the lead actor in the movie 300, is said to have performed 6 hours of weight training, 2 hours of CrossFit-style exercise, and 2 hours of fighting exercise a day to create the appearance of a strong Spartan warrior. Most of the time each day was spent building the body. As a result, he created a body worthy of the king of Spartan warriors and was able to express 100 of his strength on screen. Brad Pitt was always a muscular actor. In his previous films, such as Fight Club and Snatch, you can see that he was in good shape. However, in order to play the most powerful Achilles, he worked with 3 trainers and a nutritionist to gain 10 kilograms of muscle mass and spent 8 months practicing his fighting skills to become a confident, real-life Achilles. Chapter 2. Woman. Leonidas had a queen named Gorgo. In the movie, Leonidas shows himself as a good family man who loves the queen and her son, and especially as a good husband who respects the queen's opinions. On the other hand, Achilles is believed to have been unmarried until the Trojan War. In fact, there are no specific historical records, so the factual relationship is unclear, but at least in the movie, it does not seem to be established that they were married. Therefore, it is assumed that he had relationships with many women, due to his originally free-spirited and instinct-driven personality. However, he falls in love with Briseis, whom he met during the Trojan War, and changes from his previous impulsive and violent self to a more thoughtful person. Chapter 3. Battle. When the Persian Turks invaded mainland Greece with a 1 million-strong army, Leonidas led 300 elite Spartan soldiers and fought a defensive battle in the Thermopylae Gorge. He could not mobilize a large army because he did not receive approval from the National Assembly, but he gathered only the most elite warriors to guard the king and defended the narrow canyon passage. Of course, about 7,000 other Greek allied soldiers also participated in the defensive operation, but the performance of the 300 warriors in the movie was so overwhelming that the Greek allied forces' contribution was insignificant. That's why the movie's title is 300. However, the number of Persian troops was unrealistically large, because the situation was too disadvantageous to fight one-on-one on a wide battlefield. The Spartan warriors used defensive tactics in narrow canyons to kill the Persian army. The battle in the narrow canyon was the best choice for the Spartan warriors, who had excellent individual fighting skills, so the Persian army was left helpless. The battle of Spartan warriors feels like hunting by a pack of wolves. The sight of 300 wolves moving systematically around the leader wolf, seemingly slaughtering a large number of prey, made the men's hearts pound. primal strength stimulates instinct even in a civilized society. If Leonidas was a wolf, Achilles is like a leopard. Unlike the Spartan army, which moves systematically and destroys the enemy, Achilles jumps into the enemy camp alone with overwhelming force and moves around the battlefield. While he's not a demigod like in mythology, he's still an incredibly powerful warrior who could be considered a god of battle. Until an arrow pierces his ankle later in the movie, he seems to be immortal, never suffering a single wound on the battlefield. When fighting Boagrius, he uses a reckless strategy of jumping big and attacking the enemy's vital points while avoiding shields. Originally, attacking by jumping big was a dangerous way to leave an opening for the opponent. If you look closely, when Achilles attacks, Boagrius's movements are so fast that they appear to be in slow motion. In other words, you attack faster than the opponent counterattacks. Hector was the only one who could block this attack, but he was barely able to block it by raising his shield without any time to look for an opening. And Achilles is very strong. Achilles' power is revealed when he and Hector face each other at the Temple of Apollo. A spear thrown from out of range flies quickly and powerfully over a long distance and pierces the neck of Hector's lieutenant, Tecton. It wasn't just a hit, it was so strong that the Tecton, who was running fast with his horse, was pushed back by the force of the javelin and fell. Hector looked at him in disbelief, then got angry, and ran on his horse to close the distance, and then threw a spear. It flew much slower than Achilles' spear, so Achilles easily dodged it. His reflexes were also excellent, and he never allowed himself even a single grazing wound, except for Paris' surprise sniping at the end. During his duel with Boagrius, he easily dodged a spear thrown from just a dozen meters away, and during the Battle of Troy Beach, he demonstrated the ability to block arrows fired by the enemy with his shield without even looking at them. He showed Hector's attack by grazing Achilles' armor with his sword, but in the end, he failed to inflict even a single wound. To summarize, killing Boagrius, the strongest warrior in Thessaly, with a single sword, clearing the beaches of Troy almost single-handedly, and being dominant throughout his duel with Hector illustrate what wants him back, and why he can't win without him. Chapter 3. Las. Leonidas and 7,000 allied Greek troops defended against the Persian army for 3 days, inflicting great damage, but faced a crisis when the traitor Ephialtes informed the Persian army of a side road that bypassed Thermopylae. Sensing the end, Leonidas retreated all the Greek troops and slave soldiers to the south, and only himself and 300 Spartan warriors remained to resist until the end. But it was not enough to stop the Persian army coming from both sides. However, the death of the Spartan warriors ignited a burning will to resist in the hearts of the Spartans and Greeks. Historically, the 3 days that the Spartan warriors endured were a valuable time for the Greek forces to gather their troops and prepare for the Persian army. The iron walls of Troy fell due to the Trojan horse operation. Achilles sets out to find Briseis as Troy falls, and saves her from being killed by Agamemnon. However, Hector's younger brother Paris shoots an arrow into Achilles' ankle, and despite Briseis' efforts to stop him, he attacked another arrow into the abdomen, leading to his death. It was because even the invincible warrior Achilles lost his guard when faced with love. Today, we learned about 300 and Troy, movies about 2 Greek warriors, Leonidas and Achilles. There are criticisms that both films lack historical research, but at least they can be said to be men's films that made men's hearts boil. Who do you think was the greater warrior? My choice is
This is Sparta!